Welcome to the Real Estate Masters Podcast, where we interview the top names in the real estate game. If you want to grow your real estate business, see more podcasts, or get free resources, go to www.remcommunity.com. The only podcast that allows you to directly connect with the guests and many of the highest level names in the real estate game.
You are in for a treat with our next guest. Do me a favor, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review, and don't forget to go to remcommunity.com to connect with some of the highest level real estate professionals in the United States through our community and through our high level masterminds. Let's go.
Welcome to the Real Estate Masters Podcast. This is Tony Javier, your host. Today, we have an amazing guest that's going to share how he gets motivated seller leads on autopilot and has become a celebrity in his market, and is building a ton of credibility in his market with this marketing channel. So a lot of you guys know I've been doing TV commercials for close to a decade, and now I'm showing other real estate investors how to get on TV and take advantage of this completely untapped marketing channel. If you want a marketing channel that is not saturated like a lot of the other marketing channels are, TV is one of the most untapped marketing channels that has little to no competition and is very automated. So I want to welcome Dean Rogers to the show. Dean is one of my clients, and he's going to show us how he's had success over the last 6 months with TV and how he's doing with his TV commercials. So Dean, what is going on, my friend?
What's up? What's up, man? Just living the dream here, just cranking away and trying to grow the business like you are as well.
Yeah, Dean's in sunny San Diego like myself, but he does virtual wholesaling in another market and some flips and Airbnbs and things like that. Dean's been in the game for a little while. In fact, Dean was on my podcast several months ago before he was in the program. So it's cool to have him back on now that he's been on TV. But for those who don't know you, Dean, just give a little backstory. You have a cool story about, your athletic career and all that good stuff. And now you're doing some really good stuff in real estate. So I'll let you take it over. Kind of tell us your story about, being an athlete and kind of transitioning into real estate.
Cool, man. Yeah. So thanks for having me. Always fun to get on here and just chat about life, chat about business, and, what gets us excited and keeps us going. So yeah, man, my story is, I grew up a sports guy. Sports has always been my thing. Played all sports you could imagine growing up. And as I started getting older into elementary and high school, started focusing more on basketball and football. And then, you had all the dreams growing up of being a professional athlete, and every year it switched between like football and basketball. And then I stopped getting taller. So I was like, well, maybe football is the best path for me. So focused on football, didn't even play basketball my senior year. And went to college, played D1 football, and, but I'll tie this in later, but I was under recruited, grew up in Central California. I got some looks. I got, looked at some bigger schools like, Notre Dame and Boise State and Fresno State, and people all kind of in the WAC league at that time. But not really at the level that I wanted to or thought I could be at, right? I played running back and was kind of like a big running back, and other people were looking at me as a tight end. So anyways, I ended up signing with UC Davis, played football there, and, had a great time, had a great experience, and started getting recruited my junior year, having pros start to come to practice and look at me and some other guys. And so leading up to senior year, more recruiting coming out of that, had all the teams, kind of talking to me leading up to the draft, and, went through that whole process. Right. And then that year, the lockout happened. So all conversations stopped. It was kind of a crazy time, was, training with some other NFL guys in Fresno, and then lockout lifted. San Diego Diego Chargers called me, said, pack your bags, you're coming the next morning. And, was jumping up and down with my brother-in-law, like a little schoolgirl, just like, super stoked. So then I went to play on for the Chargers, and just incredible experience, man. It was just like everything you would hope and dream for, just a whole nother life that you kind of got exposure to. People will instantly treat you differently. I remember when I first got there, day one, I turned my phone off just so I didn't have any distractions. And when I turned it on the next day, I had like over 250 messages. Like my phone was just like bling, 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 just all the notifications, everybody either congratulating or already asking for tickets, or like all sorts of crazy stuff, all the friends coming out of the woodwork. So, yeah, it was a wild experience. And for me, it kind of helped me to where I'm at now, because I got that taste, right? Like, not only did I get that taste of kind of the lifestyle and what it could bring, I also knew what it take to get there. Like I put in all that time, dedication, sacrifice, effort, and was able to achieve getting to that ultimate, like the pinnacle level for football in the NFL. And just what an awesome experience. Now, that year that I joined in 2011 with the Chargers was also like the first year they started talking about concussions, and that story like broke ESPN. I remember it came out when I was actually training before they signed me, and was just thinking to myself, like, holy crap, like they're actually starting to talk about this now, and people started to speak out about it more. Long story short, I ended up retiring way earlier after, having Norv Turner tell me, multiple times, you're going to have a long career, seeing kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that I could have that career that I dreamt of, and was playing great, never felt better physically. I felt in my ultimate form, if you will, with the Chargers, but from the head up, I could already start to feel some of the side effects of just beating your head in. Like, not only was I doing that all the years leading up to it, but now you're playing with the biggest, strongest, fastest athletes in the world. And everything from me physically was competing and doing, meeting that level and playing great, but I could feel it in my brain getting rattled around. So for me, I ended up retiring, and it was the hardest decision still to this day I've ever made in my life. And I still, have dreams about, playing in the NFL. Like, I'll wake up and then I'll think like, all right, I'm back in it. And, have dreams of like being at practice and in the locker room and playing games, all sorts of stuff. And it was amazing. I
don't think people understand what it takes to be an elite athlete. Like, I played high school football, and I was, I'm not saying this to brag, but I was the best athlete in the city for football. Like, and so to go from being the best athlete in the city in high school, and then going into college, it's like the best of the best. So then all of a sudden, like, I hurt my knee my senior year, so I kind of took a step down, and then competing against the best of the best in college was just like a huge step. And then take that one step further and go to the NFL. I can't imagine like how much even further a step was, because I hurt myself my first year of college, so I ended up stopping playing. But you're right, the amount of dedication that it takes, and then just being like in the presence of elite athletes, even at the college level, was intense. So tell us about, I guess, kind of touch on that a little bit. Like, how was it from you from high school to college and then college to the NFL? I'm kind of curious about that.
I'm sure everyone has a different experience, but in my opinion, it was actually a bigger jump. Well, I'll give two exact stories that'll kind of sum it up, but I felt it was a bigger jump from performance from high school to college, actually. Think of it because, like, from a maturity standpoint, you're going from like a teenager to becoming a man, mm-hmm. Or a woman at that age. Right. So there's so much physical change that's taking place in those years from high school to college that that's where I saw the biggest like drastic difference. I remember showing up to camp my freshman year in college, just being like, holy crap, everyone's so fast. At Davis, because of the level, it wasn't like when we, played against like Cal Berkeley, or we, played against Fresno State, where the line, which I'll go into another story, where the linemen are so much bigger than at UC Davis. It wasn't as big of a physical difference, even though they were definitely like, all right, these are men. The speed is what was the biggest difference for me in college. Now, flash forward to the NFL. I'll never forget day one of me showing up. Because of the circumstances of the lockout, the veterans were actually there already. So when I showed up, they already had a practice with the veterans going. And I'll never forget when I showed up, I couldn't believe how big everybody was. Like, it literally sent my body into a shock in a level of fear. Like, holy crap, am I going to get destroyed by these monsters? Like, I'm big, I'm huge, I'm in my NFL size myself, but these guys from a lineman and defensive lineman standpoint are all like 6'5", 6'6", and just enormous, right?
And fast. Cause like for me going to high school to college, I remember being on the practice squad in college, and I was a running back, and I wasn't 100% cause I hurt my knee and that kind of thing. But anyway, so I was running the ball and I was going against the first team, and I got my legs wrapped up at the bottom. And then this linebacker just comes full speed. And I remember thinking, like, I do not remember this in high school. Like, I was usually the one punishing people or like dodging people, but man, this dude just hit me so hard. And at the time I didn't know what a concussion was, but I'm 90% sure I had a concussion, because the rest of the practice, I was like dizzy. I was just not myself. And so like you're talking about those linemen, like some of those linemen are probably close to as fast as high school running backs. I mean, that's just, that's just how fast they are. And linebackers definitely are as fast, if not faster than most like pretty elite high school running backs. So just a totally different level. Who are the players there? Who are the big players that that we would recognize from the Chargers? I'm curious.
So obviously you got Phillip Rivers, you got Ryan Matthews, you got Vincent Jackson, you got Bob Sanders was there. I got a story about him. You got Donald Driver as linebacker. You've got Cromartie, or no, not Cromartie. You got oh my gosh, drawing a blank. Another DB that's just was in the league forever and just, an all pro guy. There was a lot of talent there for sure. And so it was super fun what was crazy is once you see all these people on TV, right? And you build these people up to just be almost like these untouchable people. When you're in the locker room, like you're one of the dudes. Like, Phillip Rivers would be screwing around and be like, "Hey, Dino, how's it going?" He's got like a country draw to his voice, and call me Dino. And, you've got, of course, you got Gates, call him Gatesy, Antonio Gates. So he stopped me in the locker room one day, was telling me about how he went to he played basketball at COS. He told me his whole story, because he's like, "You said you were from Visalia, right?" He's like, "Oh, well, I was at College of the Sequoias, which is in Visalia, playing basketball." And he was telling me how his story was. He was about to go to Fresno State. And then literally the night before he was going to go to Fresno State, he gets a knock on his apartment door, and it's Kent State. And they are there for hours. The next day he's flying out to Kent State, and he ends up going to Kent State, playing basketball there. Then he goes, gets signed to play for the Chargers. They're all just a bunch of guys goofing around, sitting around, having a good time. Like any other sport, getting in the trenches, working hard together. So once you're in, like you're in, you know? And now you get it. Like you're a part of the world. You understand like how media is, but like now you're like a part of the club. And that was what was cool about all of that. There's the whole experience, the glitz and glamour of everything, the first class, everything you go. I got funny stories just about me going to a smaller D1 school, not getting all the, alumni club handing you envelopes full of money. Well, that happened with the Chargers. Like we get on our own private chartered 747. We all roll up in buses to the tarmac. They've got like tables full of food and anything you want. Then they're coming around with like chef prepared meals through the plane. They're handing you envelopes of cash for spending money on the trip. You're like, what's this for? Just whatever you want. I'm like, this is awesome, So just crazy stories. And then you got the stories that some people will probably laugh at, like the drop dead gorgeous, not 10, but 12 model who's just randomly walking through the hotel and walks straight to the first round draft pick and like walks in between his legs and is like talking closely to him just out of the blue, right? You couldn't make it up. So there's insane stuff that happened like that. There's random stuff like people following you in the parking lots and like just like wanting to take a picture of you or like just watching you drive away in your car. You're like, that was weird,
Yeah.
So it was pretty nuts, man. Pretty nuts, pretty incredible. But yeah, after that first day of shock, I went to bed, woke up the next day with the right mindset and like nailed it, dude. Went into practice the next day. I remember I was playing fullback tight end. So I was fullback for the very first play I was in. They just throw your ass in. There's no like, hey, let's like warm up. Let's get familiar. It's like, boom, you learn the plays the night before or the morning of, we're playing now. You either show up or you're gone, And I remember running a counter, coming around the corner and smacking Bob Sanders and had an awesome block. And like Norv Turner threw his clipboard. He was just like super stoked. He's like, there you go, Rodgers, So then I was like, all right, cool. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. So yeah, man, incredible experience for sure. And I think there's so much that I learned from it, just from like a mindset standpoint of where the possibilities are from a lifestyle standpoint. And then also just the experiences of knowing what it took to get there and carrying that over into the professional working career of like, you got to work your ass off. And most people aren't going to put in the work, but you're damn sure I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to put it in daily. I'm going to do extra hours. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to where I want, because no one's going to give it to you. You got to go get it.
Yep. Well, awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that story. So let's transition to real estate. So you eventually got into real estate. You mentioned people taking pictures with you, which is kind of the celebrity status. You mentioned seeing some of those guys on TV playing and how you got in front of them. And now you're a celebrity in your market. You're doing TV, man. People know who you are, that, you got that. You can tell the story about your mother, I think your mother-in-law's friends if you want to, but so you got into a
couple good stories.
Yeah. So you got into real estate. You've been in real estate. I just gave a quick backstory. How long have you been in real estate and a little bit how you got into it?
Yeah. So it's been 7 going on 8 years now. Got into real estate like probably a lot of other people do. Was working, it was only 1 year. So it's kind of funny, but after 1 year of corporate world, I got tired of realizing like these people are determining how much I can make no matter how hard I work. I worked my ass off the first year, like thinking, wow, this is all it is. I remember like moving around in my swivel chair. Like this is easy as hell. Like there's no physical exertion. Like I just got to think about some stuff, slap around the keyboard. This stuff is easy and I'm going to crush it. So I worked my ass off, and then it's like, okay, you're going to get, $1,000 increase on your salary, which is diddly squat. Right. And I was thinking to myself, holy crap, I'm going to be dead broke here pretty quick if I don't start kind of taking control of my life. So I went home in my 424 square foot apartment or studio in San Francisco. And I did a Google search of how to get started in real estate. I kind of did a heart to heart, but didn't really take much time thinking about it. I just knew I was growing up loving real estate. I remember seeing Dean Graciosi, late night infomercials, having that like gut feeling like, man, I got to get into this. And so always just knew I liked real estate, did a Google search, found Sean Terry's podcast, free podcast, Flip to Freedom, and listened to the first one and was instantly hooked and obsessed, like unnaturally obsessed. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. Like I remember one day I woke up at 2 a.m. and re-listened to a podcast on like how to fill out a contract, because I was just trying to wrap my head around the details. And so I just did everything he said to do in the podcast and how to like ramp up the marketing. And a cool story on that is I actually started investing in marketing in Phoenix, Arizona, despite the fact that I've only lived in California and only know the California markets, because Sean was explaining in detail, I'm investing in these neighborhoods and doing these zip codes. So I just did what he said. And my first deal I ever closed was actually a deal. I got under contract, couldn't find a buyer in the time frame I needed to. I reached out to Sean Terry's team, and we actually co-wholesaled it and split the $12,000 profit he made. We each made $6,000. So that was my first deal. And we did it. Me and Sean Terry did a couple deals together. So I owe him a ton of credit for really just kicking off my real estate career, and just snowballed it from there. And, found my business partner a year later by wholesaling him a couple deals. He's like, hey, you want to do some flips together? I like what you're doing. And so we just grew it from there and, scaled it, doing 20 flips at a time, doing over 100 flips in a year business. And then we've transitioned into wholesaling the past 2.5 years, doing over 100 deals a year, and really have solidified ourselves as a dominant investor / wholesaler in our market. The past 2.5 years, we've also focused on building our rental portfolio. We've got 54 doors and have grown that. And just love where we're at. And it's all at this point about, quality relationships. We're really dominant also in just the relationships and the community we've built, and doing deals with other people in our market. And then also just, we're doing all forms of marketing between, direct mail and TV and cold calling. We've done texting, we do PPC, we do pretty much everything you can do and spend a lot of money doing it. And just trying to get better and more quality leads for sure.
Yeah. So if you remember, you're in my virtual mastermind, right? And so we were on a call, and this was last year sometime. And I just launched the TV program showing other real estate investors how to get on TV and buying media for them and all that good stuff. And you mentioned at least a couple of times, like, I'm looking for another marketing channel. And I was like, Dean, I've mentioned to you a couple of times, like, I just launched this program. You'll do well on TV. Like, I've crushed it over the last 9 years. And you gave me some pushback, and finally you're like, dude, all right, let's go. Let's sign up.
Yeah, I guess my pushback was like, is it going to be too expensive? Am I going to know how to create a commercial and like all the details that go in behind that? How am I going to pick, what channels to market on and what times during the day? There was just a lot of unknowns that just kept me from moving forward on it, at the time.
Yeah, no. Well, thanks for mentioning that. So tell us about your experience in the program. So, you got into the program, you thought it was too expensive. I'm sure, like most people, they think it's too expensive. It's too hard. There's a lot of moving pieces to it. It's mass media. So you're hitting a broad audience as opposed to buying lists and things like that. Just give us your overall experience with getting on TV, and then anything you want to share with your last 6 months on TV.
Yeah. So you kept nudging me, and I was like, shit, all right, I'll give it a try. And we got on the phone, 1 or 2 more times just to like talk about the details. How does it actually work? Like, what does your program include? And that's where I got confidence, because your program is a plug and play model. It's like you sign up, you've got a media buyer, which is probably your biggest asset, who understands what formula works based on working with you and now your other clients, right? And so being able to take that experience and let them, the media buyer, make all those decisions, make all the negotiations, which is the additional layer of benefit. And then ultimately them help with the entire production process of, just go jump in front of a camera in a studio, they'll record it, and then their production team will do all the editing and everything. That's the beautiful part about it that made it so easy by having like a full-blown A to Z program to plug into and just hit the play button, that allowed me to say, yeah, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah. And that's the barrier of entry, right? Because like anybody can pull up a list, anybody can send out text messages, anybody can start calling. But for someone to figure out TV without someone like us is very difficult. I've had other people try and figure it out, and they're like, after 3 months of negotiating and trying to figure out what stations to be on and all that kind of stuff, I threw my hands up and I thought it was too expensive based on the rates they gave me. So for when I launched this program, I brought my media buyer on and I said, hey, if we're going to get these people on TV, we need to do a lot of it for them. They're super busy. Even if they're not busy and they have the time, it is a lot of work to negotiate. It's a lot of work to produce. It's a lot of work to put the scripts together. So we basically put together an A to Z program where we do 90% of the work and plug in our formula, our formats, our scripts, and all that kind of stuff into markets. So I think that's why we have such a high success rate. I would guess it's probably the highest success rate of any program out there, most of it because we do a lot of the implementation. So thanks for touching on that. So let's talk about your results. I got your results 60 days in. I'll just kind of go over these results with you. So 60 days in, you did about 4 or 5 deals. It was right around 75 to 80,000 profit, right? And you're only spending about $8,000 a month on TV. And on top of that, I don't know, did you ever close that deal? You said there was another deal you were working on that was going to make another 40 or 40,000 plus. And then somebody else snaked the deal from you. Did you end up getting anything out of that deal?
Didn't get anything out of it. It's a real dirty story. Like the American Greed shows that they have.
Yeah.
This belongs on one of those shows, how dirty this guy was. Another investor, which I'll withhold the name, but I found out who it was. To make a long story short, had this deal, had it sold really quickly for a $40,000 profit. This person undoubtedly, and I have technical proof, viewed my email, saw it, and then based on the chain of events, had contacted the seller, offered them more, got it under contract, opened escrow. Okay. Now they closed escrow in 3 days because they did it super fast as part of their orchestration in the master evil plan. They literally had their escrow officer on a weekend notarize the seller signing not only the purchase contract, which is very odd, not normal to have a purchase contract notarized. They also had another document notarized stating that the seller had submitted their information on that buyer's website and had no other contracts with anyone else.
That's crazy.
Why would they, before they opened escrow, they hadn't even opened escrow yet, they notarized on a Saturday before the Monday they opened escrow on and before the Wednesday they closed, a document stating that not only they signed the purchase contract, but they had submitted their form on that Saturday and came to an agreement. Oh, by the way, her and her son had submitted the form because the son had submitted the form to us 2 or 3 days prior.
Yeah.
And had no other contracts with anyone else, and that they were basically, no obligation to anybody else. That is crooked as hell. So anyways, and oh, by the way, the person that notarized it was the escrow officer that we notified we had another escrow opened and to put a stop on it.
You're kidding me.
It was the actual escrow officer we told on the phone to put a pause. He notarized the documents that the seller signed. That's insane.
After you notified him?
After we notified him. And he backdated the dates that he notarized the documents. We notified him on a Monday, right? The day they opened escrow. We called around and found, oh, yes, they did open escrow here. And oh, by the way, they had documents notarized and backdated them to a Saturday, which he clearly had knowledge. They would never produce those documents in a normal situation unless they knew that someone else was involved. It was so crazy. Dirty. So I had a list pendants on the property. I dropped it because I was like, if these people are going to be this dirty, it's just not worth it for me to pursue. They made a ton of, they bought it and they sold it on the market, open market, with the market appreciating. They made a ton of money from it. Dirty money.
That sucks, man. That happens. That's why some real estate and why real estate investors used to get a dirty name. It's not near as prevalent now, I don't think, but there's just those things you have to go through. But anyway, so that would have skewed the numbers a little bit greater. But any which way, still 60 days, mass media. Some people think that it's not very targeted, that it takes a long time to produce results because people need to see you, so many times in order to call you. But the thing is, most of our clients are getting a lot of deals within their first 30 to 60 days. So if you're to get 4 or 5 deals, 80K in profit. So let's fast forward 6 months. You just gave me your numbers. I had no idea what the numbers were until 45 minutes ago before we hit play here. So after 6 months, your ad spend is right around $44,000, and you have brought in $228,000 worth of profits from wholesale deals. And I think there might've been some flip profits in there. And that's not including at least one Airbnb that you kept as a rental. There might be some other rentals you kept in there. So 228,000, that is a 5 times return on investment in 6 months. And tell me how that compares ROI with other marketing methods, and tell us how much time you've spent on producing your TV commercials.
Yeah. So I guess to start with how it compares to others, there's not too many others that can compete with it. If I'm looking across other different marketing channels that we have, cold calling from an ROI standpoint, usually low cost, and the deals, if they turn out good, are gonna produce. And we've had some big deals this year that have closed from cold calling, so the numbers are probably skewed a little higher. But cold calling has been good. Direct mail continues to be a producer for us, even though it's really expensive. There's a lot of effort in like the list that you're using and a lot of competition. We do get a good ROI, not as good in direct mail, but continue to, of course, do it while still working. And then the one that you can't beat is the infinite return that I get through relationships and referrals. That's the one that you can't beat, which we've done pretty good in building those deals up this year. But everything else, it's beating right now.
Nice. And the TV commercials, you spent probably a few hours getting them set up, I imagine?
Yeah, exactly. Very little time actually, because the only time for setup was me going. And then you just hand it over to the production company and they whip up the video really quick, like 24 hours or less. Then you can see, make any changes you want. That was such a burden off the shoulders because that in itself, trying to figure that out, piece it all together, what images to use, what wording, how to even do the formatting, that in itself would take weeks, if not longer. And it'd be a way worse, quality end result. So that was a ton of help. And the maintenance going forward is absolutely zero, right? Everything else is a list maintenance, an ongoing order that you place, and switching up of this or that. Like I haven't lifted a finger in 6 months, haven't changed the commercial, not once. And it just goes on play and the phone rings. That's it.
Phenomenal. So tell us about what it's done for you in your name in the market. So, you probably already had a pretty good name in the market, not a huge market. You're doing a good volume of business. What's happened over the last 6 months with you and the way people have talked to you or treated you or connections you've made that basically you can't really calculate much of an ROI on it, but there's obviously something there that is intangible. So tell us about that part of it.
Yeah. So 100%. I think our reputation has been great in the marketplace, especially as we started doing more deals over the past, the journey that I've been going through the past 7-8 years. So when we were doing a lot of flips, we started to become known as like, okay, these guys are real flippers, and getting credibility that way. When we started focusing on wholesaling instead of flipping, with the occasional flip, now we were like the guys with the deals, right? And building credibility there. When the pandemic came and business for a lot of people slowed down, we were the guys with the buyers and the strongest buyers. So we started getting a lot more people bringing us deals to sell for them and increasing that. But once we went on TV, it definitely added a whole nother level to it of the celebrity status that we've talked about, to where it's like, okay, these guys, not only are they doing results, but like these guys are the real deal. Like these guys are like professional, like really professional. So, I got a message yesterday, like, great commercial, bro. I get that from other investors all the time. I've got, the funny stories that we'll get into of people that just want to call just to talk to me, right? Whether they want to flirt with me or they just want to sell me the house because they saw me and they liked me for whatever reason. So it's definitely another because like I said, I'll get messages from other investors in the market, right? Which is important to have those relationships and kind of continue to lean on them. They'll send me, a video of them taking it at the barber shop or whatever like that, of the commercial. Be like, great commercial, so yeah, man, it's been awesome. It's been great for that credibility. It definitely gives us credibility, not only just from our local community of investors, but also, of course, with the sellers. Like you come in with a level of authority now as a professional, to where they're going to kind of respect you a little bit more, treat you more professional, and trust you more because you've taken the time and effort to put together TV. Then, of course, if you've got it all tied in with a good website and good reviews, which we do, then it's just like, okay, it'd be pretty hard for these guys not to be legit.
Have you felt that it's helped you with other marketing channels? Has anybody called you from postcards and said, hey, I saw your commercial and maybe you got deals from that you normally wouldn't have, that kind of thing?
I personally am not on the phones on the acquisition side anymore. So I would be asking those questions or hear that kind of feedback, I'm sure. But I'm pretty certain that we definitely do. I have heard and listened to some calls where people said, hey, we got your postcard, but we saw you on TV as well, blah, blah, blah. So we definitely do have that kind of come full circle there.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we're going to start wrapping up here. Well, first of all, I appreciate your trust in allowing us to get you on TV. It's not nearly as expensive as people would think, but it's still good money. And it's something that people trust us with their time and their money. And luckily we're delivering. I mean, the results that Dean is getting is very similar to the results that most of our clients are getting, where once we turn the faucet on with TV, leads are coming in, multiple contracts are being put together. In fact, I just got a text from my media buyer that said that one of our clients launched 10 days ago, and she already has 3 deals under contract within 10 days. Nice. I had another client that got 6 deals under contract, or I'm sorry, 4 deals in 1 week. And then that same week, another client launched and got 6 deals within the first 2 weeks. So this is not just Dean getting results. This is a very untapped channel where a lot of real estate investors are getting results throughout the country. And our retention rate is through the roof, just because not many people are on TV, and it's because of the barrier of entry. It's because people don't think of TV when it comes to real estate investing. So if you want to become a celebrity in your market and you want to get into the TV program, run TV commercials, get return on your time with very little time effort, help do deals easier. If you're already doing other marketing, it's going to add to the effectiveness of your marketing. If you want to see if your market's open, go to realestateMastersTV.com/Tony. Again, realestateMastersTV.com/Tony. schedule a call with me or my team, and we'd love to see if you'd be a good fit for the program. So Dean, I appreciate your time. Any other lost thoughts? Actually, tell that story real quick of your mother-in-law.
Yeah. So I got two funny stories I'll share. The first one's a mother-in-law one. So my mother-in-law works at our local hospital, which is a big hospital. She was in the break room, and she had heard the commercial come on, right? So of course she's heard it before and knew about it. She heard it come on, and then she overhears a group of girls say, "Oh, I'd sell him my house." And then she turns to them and goes, "Hey, that's my brother-in-law, bitches." And they're like, "Yeah, right." And she's like, "No, I'm serious. Look." And she holds up her phone and shows them a picture like, "Oh, I'd still sell him my house."
So you meant son. I know you said brother-in-law. I know you meant son-in-law. Yeah. What was the other story? I don't think you told me the other story.
Yeah. So that one was pretty hilarious, but the other one was great too. So we had a house, came through TV lead. We got it under contract. Then, funny enough, which is another side story, the seller had kind of gone MIA for a couple of days, right? Turns out she was still kind of talking to some other people, right? Despite the fact it was under contract. So while one of my buddies is on this appointment, he ends up sending me a text. "Hey, are you working this deal on blah, blah, blah?" "Yeah, we got it under contract." He goes, "You son of a gun." He takes a video while he's on the appointment and sends it to me. So while he's walking this house, okay, the commercial comes on while he's walking the house with the homeowner, and they both pause awkwardly and watch it. And she asks him, "Do you have a commercial too?" He's like, "No." So the funny kind of full circle part of the story was, it's funny in itself, just the fact that he was on an appointment with a seller who wanted to sell their house, and my commercial came on. That in itself is a funny, hilarious story that's worth sharing. But to wrap that whole story up, we already had it under contract. She shouldn't have been talking with him. That situation happened where the commercial came on. We worked together on a lot of deals already. He sent it to us. "Hey, are you working on this deal?" Because he kind of got a hunch. And then, he ended up going back to her and saying like, "Hey, you already have it under contract with these guys. We know who they are. Like, you should move forward with them." So we closed the deal and all was good. But just hilarious that while he's on the appointment, the commercial comes on. That was too funny.
Nice. Well, cool, Dean. Well, I appreciate your time again. So again, if you guys want to look into the program, realestatemasterstv.com/Tony, book a call with me and my team, and we'll see if we can get you on TV. So hopefully we'll make you a celebrity in your market and help you crush your competition. So until next time, we'll see you later.
Take care.
Thanks for listening. Now go to www.remcommunity.com to connect with today's guest, see our high-level masterminds, and to get free resources. Don't forget to share this with a friend and leave us a 5-star review. We'll see you on the next episode.